Hey everyone, welcome to the Sandbox. Wind and Truth is just around the corner, so we today are locking in some of our favorite final theories on what we expect to see happen in the final chapter to the first sequence of the Stormlight Archive. And as you can see, I've got some special guests with me here today to assist with this. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves, starting with the amazing Bookborn.
Hi guys, I'm Bookborn. I do a lot of fantasy book content and video essays around fandom stuff, and I am a huge Brandon Sanderson fan and been a fan for over a decade. So I am very, very excited for Stormlight Archive 5.
We also have with us today the hilarious duo in 2ToRamble, guys.
You know, of course, you go to the bigger subscriber, better person, Bookborn. I feel like Spencer, you're late. Sorry, Spencer, but Richard and I here from 2ToRamble, we're showing off our most prized collection from Sanderson. Rich.
Oh yeah, we spent this. If people want to know where our YouTube money goes, here.
Right
This is where it all goes.
So good, so good. We're excited to talk some Stormlight theories with everybody.
Oh yeah,
awesome. And lastly, we have a fellow author and TikToker, Mr. Spencer Russell Smith.
Hey guys, I'm a science fantasy author, Spencer Russell Smith. I am a huge Sanderson fan, and Wheel of Time was my gateway to him. I've written the Awakening the Lightforge series, and you can find me, as Trevor said, on TikTok and Instagram, Spencer Russell Smith author. And I'm so excited to talk about Stormlight.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome. I can say I've read Spencer's first book, and for a debut novel, I found it to be quite impressive. I'm excited to dive back into that world. But anywho, just a heads up, as for today's discussion, we're going to keep things spoiler-free outside of the Stormlight Archive series, except for maybe something like Warbreaker, because that's like kind of a part of the Stormlight Archive. So any points that are referencing prelude chapters for Wind and Truth or other Cosmere series, I'm going to ask my co-hosts to just put them in the back pocket, save them for the end, just in case we have time. But to start things off for today's discussion, I thought we should just get hot and spicy right off the bat, just how we like it, with probably the most controversial theory or question for this series, and one that has gotten a recent resurgence within the community. Will Moash be redeemed, and should he be?
Quick answer: no and no.
Next one. What's the next discussion topic?
The next discussion?
Move on. Come on.
I know
Does anyone
Bookborn
think
has
he's
thoughts
going
on
to be
this.
redeemed? Bookborn, Spencer? What do you both think?
I think
Go first,
I'll
Spencer.
I think that he will necessarily be redeemed. I think that he might be changed and used differently by Todium, since there is a new person in charge. He's a foil to Kaladin, and if you take that away, like that has ramifications for Kaladin's character as well. And I think that he's not going to be redeemed. He's going to have to propel Kaladin to do some sort of huge sacrifice, or maybe even the fifth ideal, by doing something that makes him even more irredeemable. Because he would need to reject Odium for that. And we already had Dalinar doing that in Oathbringer. And we don't need a repeat, but we maybe want a twisting of that. I think it would be great if he's just a good old-fashioned tragedy, and maybe used as an example of, like, people can be redeemed, but he's rejected it even when people have tried to show him understanding and compassion. And so Moash has fallen. He cannot narratively earn redemption in a single book. That's my other thing. Like, I don't think he's had 4 books of falling back down, and I don't think he can just go right back up and be redeemed in one book. Like, I don't, as big as it is, I don't think Sanderson has time to spend on Moash being redeemed in one book.
That actually reminds me of like the
kind of redeemed in one book.
Yeah, actually, I think there's a lot of similarities. I was going to talk about that. First, we need to talk about Todium is the worst fandom name that's ever been thought of. I hate it so much, and I feel like I just have to go on record to just be like, that name upsets me. Two, I think thematically within Sanderson's work, Redemption and hope and change is one of the core elements that you'll see in almost every Cosmere novel. So it's really hard for me to imagine that Moash will not be given the opportunity for redemption. Now, whether he takes it or not is going to be the question. And I think, Spencer, you brought up some really good story, just like reasoning why having Moash redeemed could hurt overall arcs for a lot of characters. I think in general, people balk at the idea of Moash being even possible to be redeemed. One, I would say Sanderson thinks anyone could be redeemed just based on thematically what he does. And two, like Trevor just brought up, imagine if we saw Moash in a different way. Like, think of Dalinar. If we had been introduced to Dalinar, not as we are in Way of Kings, but instead as we are in Oathbringer, what if we started with his Oathbringer flashbacks? Do we think Dalinar could have been redeemed? We had the benefit of seeing Dalinar already on the path to that, and then flashing back, which I think makes readers a lot more forgiving. If we had seen him burn his wife in real time, I'm not so sure we would feel that way. So I think, like, to be clear, I'm like a Moash hater. I can't believe how much of an apologist I come off for him. But I think it's surprising to me that people are so convinced that Sanderson will not at least offer redemption to him. And I think it is possible he could take it. Now, I'm kind of with Spencer that I think it could hurt story elements, but I don't think it's unlikely.
Yeah, I was thinking that Dalinar was a good example to use there because I think Sanderson, when you're talking about redemption, you have Dalinar who gets completely redeemed. You have Elokar who is about to be redeemed, but then his life is cut short, which is one of my favorite character arcs, just to see what could have been.
Well, and the symmetry of Moash being the one to cut off that redemption is very important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
Rich and Trevor, you guys have... Yeah, Trevor, what do you think?
Yeah, I have a few points. I've been sitting on this for like a year. I have been desperately hoping nobody notices this. I don't think I've seen someone talk about this, but I'm glad you guys are here because I know you guys are big Star Wars fans. And I've seen some pretty interesting parallels, almost too many to be a coincidence, between Moash and Anakin and a little bit of Luke. I feel like in Rhythm of War, we were kind of shown like, oh, here's what Moash could have been if he had made the right choices, you know, within those many forks in his road. That could have been Luke. But he's resembling a lot more of Anakin, you know. They come from humble beginnings, you know. Anakin and Luke are both, you know, Tatooine, right? And Moash is some desert equivalent. I don't know the name of the city. They look out for the little guy, you know, the interests of the kingdom or empire. Then they start turning against their friends and heroes. They are being brainwashed by the godlike figure, you know, the most strong, powerful person in that world of the evil side. Some lose limbs, some lose vision, and they both get a name change. Anakin to Vader, Moash to Vire. It sounds almost too similar to be a coincidence, I think.
You know, someone brought up, though, that it's also biblical. Because you have Paul and Saul and blindness and changing names.
That's a good
so
point.
I'm wondering if that thematically is actually just a very, very common thing in many stories.
I want to ask Trevor, how much have you watched, or have you guys at all watched like the Clone Wars, the animated series?
Like a few episodes.
I saw
Very
all
few.
the...
Yeah, I've only few
Because
episodes.
I think
everything
that
before Disney, basically.
that does like a very good job of like, I don't think Moash was as good as, like, I don't think Moash fell from as high as Anakin did.
No.
And
He wasn't the chosen one.
I don't think he's gotten as bad as Anakin was. But also, I think if you're looking at that parallel, like Luke essentially saved Anakin through pure force of goodwill. Of just like, I am going to let you kill me. Like, I'm going to give that chance because I don't believe you will, but I am going to take that chance because I think there's still good inside you. And I think Moash has essentially kind of just gone, nope, I'm going to betray that good. And like, he could have killed Kaladin in the beginning of Rhythm of War, if not for Renarin. Like, I think that maybe would have been that moment because I don't think Kaladin was ready to just 100% execute him.
Right.
You know,
But
And
that's why I think Moash might go out swinging for the good guy, kind of
So-
like Vader did.
I think,
Hmm.
2ToRamble, if you want, go,
Go ahead,
you
Rich.
can go first.
Yeah, my overall thoughts, like, look, Sanderson definitely does have the themes of redemption. It's totally possible, and I'm especially starting from the beginning of him killing Alucard is not devastating moment for us readers, but a very understandable moment from his perspective.
Mhm.
And that I almost think you could walk away, like you can maybe get redeemed from that, of just depending on his reasonings behind it. Then you start going into him trying to get Kaladin to kill himself, utilizing his depression against him, and then killing Taft. I mean, you start getting these things of I don't know if we've seen any kind of struggle at this point. He's kind of
I think
he's so absent from the morality of his situation that he is dissociating himself from the consequences of his actions, and you don't really see that wavering where you see Anakin kind of, wavering between the good and the bad. I don't know.
Well, Rich, I think we agree on this, where Moash seems to be that character like a Gollum is Frodo. Like if Kaladin submitted to, if the opposite, the antithesis to Kaladin is Moash, and that's what he would be like. So it's a great author trick to go, hey, if our hero fails, this is what they are like.
Right.
Where
the amount of times when
if
Liren
Frodo
told
fails, he's Gollum.
Liren told Kaladin, hey, you need to learn when to care and when not to. Kaladin cares way too much, maybe,
Moash.
and Moash
Moash
deliberately
stopped.
is, I'm just going to stop caring about
Kaladin-
it.
Well,
What do you
I
think?
think there's
Bookborn?
two things there. There's one, I mean, how much at the end we glimpse what happens, while we can theorize what happened to Moash when he does feel his actions, right? Because he has actually physically, like magically shut down his ability to
Mhm.
feel. So that's a different consideration about how much we're going to have responsibility. But two, I think it also depends on what all our definition of redemption is. Because maybe redemption, like Moash and Kaladin, I don't think could ever have a relationship again because of what you said. Like he's telling Kaladin to kill himself and like furthering his depression. But having a relationship even with Kaladin, or even like meta with the readers, doesn't have to be like the only redemption. Like redemption doesn't only have to come with now I like Moash. What about like an internal character redemption for himself may not look like becoming the hero of the story. So I think there's also like shades to what redemption means in that case.
That's a fair
So
point.
I kind of am thinking along that line, where when I was looking at this, I was thinking we now have 3 forces kind of for Wind of Truth, because we have Radiance and then we have Odium, but then we have the wild card of Ishar.
Guys, why aren't the brakes working?
Because I cut the brakes! Wild card, bitches! Yeah! What?
And I think that it would be really cool if Sanderson uses Moash as like a test to Kaladin's oaths and the trust that he's able to put in people, by making it so that Kaladin and Moash some way are the only ones that can actually work together to defeat Ishar. So like he's not going to fully turn over to the good side, but he's going to go, my side is also scared of him, and I'm the one sent to deal with it. Kaladin's probably going to be the one sent to deal with Ishar if it's not just a straight up confrontation between him and Dalinar, which I'm 50-50 on. But I think he's going to be more so of like a tool or a necessary evil rather than fully redeemed. And I think that kind of goes along with what Bookborn was saying. Like he's not going to be redeemed in our eyes, but he might like do some good.
Like the Soviet Union in World War II, essentially. Like, okay, we're going to team up with them temporarily, but then deal with Moash later type of thing. Like,
yeah.
Got it. Got it. See, we're bringing great insight here.
So if Moash is like fully redeemed, do you see him bonding as Spren, going into the back 5 of Stormlight Archive. What do you think would happen with him if he is redeemed?
Ooh. Can I just start with saying I really don't care that much about Moash. And I think Sanderson is the best character I like ever. He is top tier. I think he is my favorite characters that I love infinitely. Like they are here. Moash from the get-go, I was like never with their broship to begin with, even to today, where I'm like, if he dies, good, get out of here. I don't need to see you anymore. I think there's so many more. No, I love the conversation on Moash. Like, I'm not saying this.
I like Rock a lot more.
Yeah, like
as
I'm
Kaladin,
bored.
Rock
Let's move on. That's what you're saying.
No. Sticking. Trevor, besides you being boring, no. So what I'm saying with Moash is I'm so curious in that Elokar, I cared so much about his valid redemption. I cared, and Zeth, for example, is one of those characters I don't care too much about as well, which is why I'm so utterly curious what we're going to see with him being, I think, the point of view character, right? I think that's revealed.
Yeah.
Well, the
flashback character.
The flashback character.
The flashback character, yes. So I'm curious because there's so much unknown. The thing that Sanders could do with this book 5 with Moash, if regardless if he gets redeemed or not, is make me care about him. Because right now, do any of you care that much about Moash? And do we want in book 5 to care more about whether he does fail or does get redeemed? Like, let's just talk about emotionally. Do we care?
I mean, I'm not invested in him yet, but I think
Right.
there's so much groundwork laid that Sanderson could write a single sentence. I'd be like, there it is. Okay.
Exactly.
That's
what I'm looking
Moash
for.
now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I cared. I have like this weird thing. My husband knows this about me, where like I get really emo over friendships breaking up in stories. Like really, like what was the X-Men movie that came out? Oh geez, before 2ToRamble was born. Not actually, but it was like in 2011. X-Men First Class.
S3?
Yeah.
First Class?
Was it? It was the first one of the reboot.
Yeah, it's First Class.
Yeah.
Okay, First Class.
That's it.
And like that whole story, spoiler alerts, whatever, everyone knows it, is like basically about a BFF, and then they just like go separate ways. There's nothing that devastates me more in a story. So it was really tough for me to see the Kaladin Moash thing. Not because I loved Moash, in fairness to your thing, but I did think Kaladin was searching for Moash was such an interesting foil to Kaladin in that he didn't worship him in the way that other Bridgefour did. And I think that was what was so compelling to me about their friendship, is that they had these very different views on life ultimately, but shared a very similar grievance. But Moash treated Kaladin very differently. And Kaladin really hasn't found anyone else in the series yet. That does that, since Moash and him had a break apart, in my opinion. I think you can make arguments for some people. I think they all view Kaladin a little bit with reverence. Even like Adolin. Not that he doesn't have good friends, but I think Moash just brought something very interesting. And so for me, like, I do kind of agree where like whether he's redeemed or not, or lives or die, I can't say I'm like it's not on the top priority list.
You're not
totally
emotionally
agree there.
invested.
I'll totally agree there.
Wholeheartedly.
It already happened. My emotional investment has already made me sad because I don't think they're going to be friends again. But I am interested, Kaladin perspective, like who is he going to get maybe that fills that role in a different way?
I was going to say, you just want Kaladin to have a best friend again.
I would like Kaladin to be happy, which I actually think is much less likely than Moash being redeemed. So,
Bookborn, you may on my side of this debate a couple questions from now.
But like, hey, like Trevor said though, that one word
as well
of caring for a character, like you can have one line that makes me go, well, now I need to know what happens with Moash, because with Teft, it was Oathbringer where there was just the one line where like I will protect the ones I hate, even if it's myself. I'm like, well, now I love Teft. I'm there for Teft. If he dies, I will hate whoever kills him. And now we're back to Moash. So
the only reason I ask these questions is because I could see Sanderson doing some cool reveal, like he bonds a corrupted Spren and he gains his vision back or something, right? Or
you're
still
spot on,
the vision, but now he can see the future, so he has like a different kind of vision. Or to go back with the Anakin parallel, he joins the Skybreakers and like Nails group, and Skybreaker, Skywalker. I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching.
Trevor,
I
I can
have-
sense you really want a Star Wars crossover. Do we need to discuss that, or
Has it been
Um,
discussed if the Star Wars universe could fit into cosmere rules? Because I know Avatar: The Last Airbender kind of fits, but I don't know if they've discussed that.
Interesting.
Does that
Hmm.
fit? I don't know.
I
But
mean,
I think we're safe to move
loosely,
on
sure.
to the next topic. I think this is one that most people are excited to talk about.
Yeah.
The contest of champions. Who's going to be the champion on Dalinar's side? Who is he going to choose? Who is Odium going to choose now that Vyre is blind?
I'm still convinced myself on the Odium picking the Dalinar's grandchild.
Gavinor.
I keep
Yep.
that theory.
I think it
I-
worked really well.
He said
so
he hates it.
Here's the
Battle this
reason.
time.
Odium saying like, I found a loophole, and I'm thinking, what could be the loophole? That there has to be a contest. If the contest is just null, that both sides refuse to fight,
Right.
then that is a null contest, and we go back to original rules, and that's Odium's way out. Or Teravarangian's now.
Why, in your mind, would Gavinor be willing? Why would he be a willing champion? Do you think he'd just be easily tricked by a god? Like, you mean he's a 6-year-old, right? 7-year-old?
I think some of this has been set up. That we,
Okay.
especially with the last book, we've seen some interesting things from him of going down a darker path than we'd like to see. And the fact that Navani has to spend a lot more time with him, but we've seen some odd stuff from him that I feel like is going to be paid off in some way. Something's happening with him.
Yeah.
So I think he's been
Anderson doesn't do anything
corrupted,
for him.
or it's either just his own trauma over, his parents'
Yeah,
death
you can
and his mother. Like, there's
Very
a bunch of
easily
that.
manipulate a traumatized little child whose parents are both dead, and I think what his mother did can be counted as abuse or neglect at the very least.
I think it fits solid in that definition of abuse, probably.
What's
But
our
no, we've
reaction?
gotten
What about the
several
coolness
scenes now.
factor, though? Trevor, was your initial reaction there because it was like, I hate that theory because then there's no big fight? Or like, is there what's the general?
It opens
I
it up
just
of
hate
like,
the idea
okay,
of
now it's no
Dalinar
longer
having
a
to fight
contest,
his
it's now a battle.
grandson.
Oh, what's that?
I just hate the idea of Dalinar being poised with that decision. That just sounds awful.
I hate that idea. Yeah.
Not
But
like a
imagine
bad
how
story, just sad.
imagine how devastating of a moment that is, and he's forced with that decision. Of course, he goes like, "Oh, I'm gonna ruin this entire arrangement, and I'm gonna open up Odium into the rest of Roshar, and I'm gonna throw everything in jeopardy."
So
I
still
don't know if
have
I'm
the-
convinced. What do you guys think? I don't know.
Or
I have a feeling
if
it's gonna be
Dalinar
Hell.
picks Zeth as his champion, and Zeth would have no problems killing a child.
Zero.
And so now Dalinar's just going, "No, please," and Dalinar has to
Well,
fight
no.
Zeth to stop his own champion. I don't know. I see lots of
There's lots of potential.
juicy
Yeah.
potential.
But is
there.
Seth still held by his third oath? I don't think he's sworn anything counter to following the will of Dalinar Kholin.
Which we don't do it then.
But maybe he holds the old one of like, "Hey, Dalinar made me, fight Odium's champion, and I'm locked in," and takes the old order
that's
over
fair.
the new
Yeah.
order. I don't know.
But it's not. Remember, his oath isn't to the order, right? Isn't the oath to follow the law of him?
Yeah.
So I think,
Like to use Dalinar as his moral compass, essentially.
yeah.
I think
But-
I think Odium's champion is going to be El, because I recently re-listened to that chapter with the Pursuer,
Mhm.
and that's kind of terrifying. Like it almost in a sense makes me think that Navani might finagle Dalinar or manipulate Dalinar into being like, "I am your champion now," because I got mad scientist vibes from El. I'm gonna test out my anti-void light, see if this works. Oh, you died. There we go. It works.
See, I think that's the loophole that Todium or Odium might do, is throw in a like anti-investiture bomb or something and neutralize all powers on the playing field. And now it just comes down to dueling abilities, in which case you would want someone like Adolin or Talon.
I don't. Do we have confirmation that it is going to be a big battle? Because I don't.
It's a duel,
think
I think.
I don't think I don't think it is Sanderson-esque that something like this would be a big battle. Like because he's all about like thematic arcs, right? And we have to have one character's will or point of view prove higher over the other for that victory to really land. And I think it's going to be something where there's kind of like a false start, like we're expecting the battle but we don't, and maybe that's going to be the midpoint of the series, kind of like the duel was in Words of Radiance, or not of the series, the book. And then we're going to get the actual conflict in the end. Like, I don't think it's going to be, it might be a duel. Like, I definitely don't think it's going to be a battle, but I think it's more so going to be something kind of like what happened with Dalinar and Odium at the Battle of Phelan Field.
I think there'll be something else going on at the same time.
I struggle to think that the ending of book 5 is just going to be the contest of champions, just the duel between the two champions, and then end the book.
Yeah,
that
I think
feels
it's thrown
kind of anticlimactic. Of
whoa,
normally throw something big at you.
Are you misspeaking about Dune?
Did I say something about Dune? I didn't say.
Ends with the battle.
But no, like it ends just completely as expected. Doesn't seem like Sanderson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm also terrified for the anti-Void Light and anti-Stormlight, anti-investiture stuff, because like that's essentially just, you've had people, like you've had, let's say, 1800s warfare, and then nukes are brought in.
There's a lot of
like
emotional heartbreak on the chopping block with that option.
I don't
know what I'm gonna do if Syl dies to the anti-Stormlight stuff. That's gonna break me.
If the contest is the end of the book, which I think it's likely it could be, when has Sanderson ever had an end of a book where there's not like 800 character perspectives and 800 things going on? So I think it's like, it could be that the contest is near the very climax and climax of the book, but that characters will not just be standing and watching. They will be doing a lot of other stuff. And as it is the end of the first arc, I am guessing we will get several epilogues. Was there 7 or 11 epilogues in Lost Metal? It's there was a ton. I think there were 7.
There were a lot.
There's multiple things going on in Wind and Truth, and the pre-release chapters, I won't speak on them. They give a little bit of hint of what other people might be up to. But just as a question, who knows about the contest besides like, the Dalinar and Co group?
Yeah, that's another question.
Yeah,
I actually
does the average Joe know that in 10 days there's a duel that's going to decide their fate? Like,
does Moash know that?
I think he might.
Because like with people because I don't even know if Moash or Leshwi or anyone that's been up there for Odium, like that we've seen, knows.
I just wanted to say, because earlier I also was a big fan for a while of the Gavilar theory. That's the one that I was fan seems wrong once again. I don't want a child to be there, but I with the death rattles, I was super kind of I was on that side for sure. Now I've kind of swung to being convinced that none of the popular theories are correct. I feel like Sanderson, I don't know what it is. I have no theory. I just feel like Sanderson is going to do something that nobody was expecting. I think that's just my new theory, that somebody knows.
But of course it is going to be laid out.
I
tear down everyone else's, provide no theories of your own. Okay.
Exactly. It's because I think almost too many of the theories sound plausible and good that I've now come like a full 180 to being like, nobody knows. We all don't know.
I think where you sit, Bookborn, is it's just going to be Dalinar because he said he's going to do it, and sometimes there's no twist. It's just Dalinar.
And maybe it's just Dalinar. Yeah, I don't
think it's going to be Kaladin at the very least.
I kind of don't either. I feel like it's too obvious.
Yeah, it's a very obvious choice. It can't be, right? I mean, it's like too set up.
Do we think it'll be Zeth? It is his book. He's got Nightblood. It's his,
I think Zeth and Kaladin have to be the top two, like, obvious contenders, which is why you'd think Bookborn's going that 180 of, okay, if it can't be that because there's something else. But we don't want to also fall into the
But
Game
maybe
of
it
Thrones season
is
8.
that.
Exactly. But the Game of Thrones season 8 trick here, we don't want to subvert expectations just because, oh, you thought Jaime was going to have a no. In fact, like, you know, you don't do that because then you actually ruin all the buildup that you made in these amazing characters. So at the same time, it could be obvious and also be amazing, but then also whatever Sanderson does will be perfect. It's just, will he go the obvious route or will he subvert and it was already planned, but you just didn't see it
3
coming?
years between books just broke us all a little bit. Like, I think we've had too long to marinate on it.
Exactly.
So
I miss the
gonna
days
skip
when I was
ahead.
late to series and I could just read them all.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Actually
I'm gonna
being
skip
up to
ahead
date.
just because we're talking about it, but we'll talk about it a little bit more later. But Kaladin is in pursuit to heal a Herald's mind. I am of the notion that Ishar might be the wrong Herald to heal. Taln is the confirmed best fighter, best duelist. Why would we not spend the resources healing him for the contest and get a pretty much guaranteed win? Unless it is Gavinor, then yeah.
So
I do have a thought on that. Just on
We
a
all
base
have
level,
thoughts on this.
we do.
Yeah.
I mainly is it better to have a fighting champion, or is it better to take out the arguably biggest threat to Spren? I think that may be the hey, Ishar is way too much of a threat to allow to continue.
Yeah, he's
existing on this side.
terrifying.
Yeah, that's you have
Yeah.
to take care of that immediate threat. That's more important, because if you don't do that, then you lose Spren entirely,
Right.
and our whole magic system. So that's my thought of why you have to do that.
Because I think with Ishar, we're now having the Shard Blade. Like, we're essentially getting what broke Ashen, the Tranquiline Halls, because that was power with no oaths, and I think it was like the power of connection, essentially, because that's not necessarily one of the. Is that the one that's not one of the surges? Because I know the
adhesion is like the honor
Adhesion,
surge.
yeah. That's just absolutely terrifying. I think that is going to have something to do with the healing, though, because I don't think Kaladin is going to be able to break through to Ishar or any of the other heralds or anything like that.
Another wonderful failure to Kaladin, for Kaladin to weigh on his shoulders and conscience of, I failed again to save another. Oh no!
But I think he's maybe going to find the way to do it. I think he's going to find something that his adhesion abilities won't do, but Dalinar's or Navani's will.
Possible.
I'm coming at this from a different angle, which is, I think, based on the thematics and character arcs of mental health through the whole Stormlight Archive, you get pretty dicey when you talk about healing mental, health stuff. I think you get really dicey when we talk about magic healing those things. So for me, I feel like Sanderson would have to tread pretty carefully if we're talking about healing Taln and healing Ishar of madness. I think that can't really be straight up and down just with Kaladin and Shallan and Dalinar, and how the whole entire series revolves around views of depression and, identity disorders and things like that. Because what is the implication? That Kaladin can heal himself of depression, that he can heal Shallan of this dissociative identity disorder or whatever. I don't want to label it, whatever, I think you can get dicey there. So I would be surprised if it's a straight up and down heal of any sort. I think it would have to be some sort of journey for those characters. Similarly, I don't know if you guys have read, but, Sanderson purposely made it so, oh my gosh, I love this character and her name just fled my head. She's the Dawn Shard.
Risen.
Thank you. Risen.
Yes.
He made it very specific that Risen can't be healed because people said, "Ew, yeah, sometimes it's hard when you're in a magical world and everything could just be healed and it's fine." So anyway, and there's that whole identity of how you see yourself. I just don't think the question is necessarily straight up and down who to heal. It's how would that healing manifest itself in a series that has made its mark about mental health.
Yeah,
I
Completely
agree
with you.
with the mental health. I disagree with the madness because Sanderson is very heavily inspired by Robert Jordan in Wheel of Time.
Well, I thought of that Wheel of Time, but Rand doesn't get healed.
No, but
Nynaeve can't heal him. Okay,
another Ashen Man does.
We shouldn't do Wheel of Time spoilers.
Oh my gosh, I'm only on book 4, guys.
But I think that if you define, I think it depends on how he defines their magic, because I think you could argue with the Heralds, there's a magical component to it, because like with all the discussion of cognitive shadows, it's like, are they actually technically people or the same people they were, or are they like a magical clone soul copy thing, kind of like how I'm forgetting which one is his Stormlight name and which one is his Warbreaker name. Zahel.
Vasher versus Zahel,
Vasher. How Zahel's kind of talking about it. And
are we just saying that? Is that a Warbreaker thing we're just allowed to say?
Yeah, no, Warbreaker's fine.
Warbreaker's on top, right?
Yeah, I think that's like an extra cosmere thing where like they never actually say the name in either one, but you just you know. But I think their illnesses are magical enough and not actual mental health. At least the causes of them are not. That he could find a way to get away with.
I can see that. I can see
that. I agree.
Counter to that, though, is I think most of the characters have shown that Bookborn's right on the mental illness aspect for these characters have not really been focused on magically. Even the one where we think it may be, with Shallan, her whole dissociative identity problems. For a little while, you're kind of convinced a bit that, oh, this is magical in nature. Like this could be a magical thing. And then Rhythm of War comes out. It's not. It's pretty clearly this is not a magical thing. It was just her way of protecting herself, and it was a mental block for her.
Trauma.
And it just manifests through her magic.
Exactly. But I don't even think it manifested through her magic necessarily. That was...
Well, her magic helps uphold it, right? Because she can change her appearance.
It's more real for us.
Yeah, she could. She already has the ability to change her appearance, and so she manifests that. But the problem was in her head. It's not a magical issue. Same thing with, Kaladin's never going to solve his problems with magic. Same Dalinar. Any of his issues don't be solved with magic. I do think it would be a little strange if, with Kaladin's push to being seen more of a healer and trying to help those with mental illness, that's not like the big push on how he attempts to save Ishar. Maybe there is a magical component to it and it doesn't work. And it takes Kaladin really reaching him on a personal level to pull him out of that hole.
It might be something. I think I agree with you on that. But you made me think with Dalinar, there was magic used, but it wasn't to heal him. It was to give him the tools to heal himself.
I was going to use that
with
exact
what cultivation
example.
did with her pruning, because she was just like, you're going to get your memories back earlier, so you have time to deal with them, and you're not in a high stress situation, and it all comes crashing down on you.
Which kind of happened anyways in Oathbringer.
Yeah, happened again.
Yeah, but he had at least time to live a life.
Yeah. I do think a lot of this is going to be
connecting the souls with the bodies or past lives or something like that is going to happen.
No, I think this book is going to set a lot of precedents for the cosmere, but also the back half. And one of those being that the spiritual realm, that's the realm we know the least about. And I think cultivation and the spiritual realm are going to play a huge part, maybe in this book, but definitely book 6 through book 10.
Can I ask you on the expectations of this just briefly? But go right back to this, just because we were talking before recording, saying how Stormlight 5, the Dragon Steel Nexus sold out instantaneously. There's never been this much hype for a book. We're theorizing about this. We've had 3 years now to just mull over all this. Sanderson's book, all the books in the Stormlight have been fantastic, phenomenal. There's such praise. It's so huge. Do we think that there's almost too much pressure? Do we think that our expectations are going to be so high? Can we be disappointed? Because are we all stoking ourselves up for like, oh, I can't wait to see the switch on like what happens with Moash? We're in 2 steps into theories. We could have a conversation for 24 hours and not hit every point on this. I'm getting the feeling here. Like, how do we feel about the expectations of the book? And are we thinking that, are we setting ourselves up for disappointment at all?
I think it depends on how you go into it.
Right.
Like, I don't think I'm going to be disappointed with it. I think even if I don't know what I want to happen necessarily, like as much as I can think of things, I don't necessarily know what I want to happen. And even if I did, Sanderson would do it well enough just because he is practiced enough at that to make me like that better than what I wanted.
100% agreed. Yeah. Do you both feel the same?
Question. This is a dangerous question because the MCU is going on currently and they are making a lot of the wrong decisions. Sanderson is put in the same situation as them, but he continually uses previously established stuff from his works to answer, the questions that we have, rather than Marvel. Oh, here's a new character. Oh, here's a new plot point. Like, okay, when are we going to talk about that thing back in 2012? No matter what Sanderson does, I know he's going to use what he's already previously established, and it's not going to just be some, Deus Ex Machina or some curveball out of nowhere that's going to magically solve the problems, right?
We trust him.
We trust him.
I mean, it's
I
one
think
person's
people are going to
vision
be
versus
disappointed.
Corporate screenwriting.
There's going to be there's going to be people who are disappointed. Of course there's going to be people who are disappointed. Like I think there has to be. I think I'm with you, Spencer. I just don't think he's going to write something that's going to like disappoint me. I have a hard time believing I'm not going to enjoy it. For me, I feel like it's more like, am I going to enjoy it? Or is it going to be like Words of Radiance?
Yeah, is it going to be a 6-star
where I'm like, this is the highest high? I think Stormlight 5 has the opportunity to hit that. And will it? I don't know, but I don't think I'm going to be disappointed personally.
Right. We're all hoping for that, though. We all hope we get that. And hey, if it doesn't get that, we'll still enjoy it. But to what level? But yeah, sorry to throw. I was just curious on that.
No, that's a great question.
Yeah, but let's get back. Yeah, Trevor, bring us back. Collect us.
All right. We'll move on. So this is the fifth book. I'm expecting to see some 5th ideals. Are you guys? Who do you think is going to say they're our 5th ideal? What do you think it'll be? Curious.
Kaladin has to say it.
Kaladin,
because he is the only one that has essentially progressed, and like Sanderson did, he couldn't do it yet. He wasn't ready. So we've already gotten that, and it's going to be like 5 ideals, 5 books, even though I know they're moved a little bit because the first ideal doesn't take a lot to say the first ideal, whether or not you mean it. But yeah, it has. I have no idea what it's going to be. I have been trying to find something in the Way of Kings that maybe spells it out, because I know it's going to be in there once we find out what it is.
Should we read out all of Kaladin's ideals?
That would be very helpful.
Please do that. Do you have them, Bookborn?
I'm gonna just get them. You talk amongst yourselves, and I'll come back when I got them.
I have some pretty great theories for Kaladin's 5th ideal. I have no way of confirming this, but I did call his 4th ideal. But I think
you called it.
I know, it's crazy. No, I think most people kind of expected it because that was his biggest hurdle to jump through. But now looking at what he's currently doing with mental health and trying to, help people with their own dark thoughts and dark places, I think Kaladin is trying to become more of a leadership role, which is also like one of the cardinal tenets of the Windrunner orders that we haven't really seen be referenced within the ideals. I think he could say something along the lines of, I'm going to teach people how to protect themselves. Maybe that's taking care of yourself, looking after yourself and your own mental health or your physical health, whatever. But I think just giving people the resources and tools that they need to help themselves, that's like the next and like highest step for someone like Kaladin, I think.
Okay, here's the ideals. We've got obviously Life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. Okay. I will protect those who cannot protect themselves. I will protect even those I hate, so as long as it is right. And I accept there will be those I cannot protect. The problem with your idea, Trevor, is I feel like it gets a little too similar to the fourth in some ways, as you currently stated it. He had to, this is annoying because it says all the third ideal, so it's hard to go back. But it's all very okay, I'll protect those who cannot protect themselves. Easy. I'll protect those I hate, even if it's right. Harder. I will accept those I cannot protect.
Hardest
Harder.
so far.
So I feel like the last one needs to be even more difficult from like a standard. And I think I will help others help themselves isn't upping the ante in difficulty. But I like the idea of what you're saying. I feel like it has to be framed in a way that's more difficult.
Right. I have like this. I
think
have
it
like
has to
kind
be
of the.
something. I think it has to be something outside of Kaladin himself, where a lot of Kaladin's problems comes from him taking on this responsibility and finding the fourth ideal finally going, I will accept that there are things I cannot do. I think it's going to be kind of more of an extension of that, maybe in some way, not what he can do for others, but what he's willing to accept and let others do for him, or in some other way. I think it's going to be less internally focused.
That's one of my theories I love, and this isn't my theory. I think other people obviously think this. Thematically would be beautiful. I don't know if it would work exactly with how the ideals work, but the fifth ideal being, I will let others protect me. Like his depression arc and him being
I do like
so
that.
focused on always protecting others. Like he will put himself on the life and on the line, and he will do anything to protect others. But he also has to know there's no worthiness in protecting others if you're dead. So if you die, that you've like the whole depression arc here is there is will to live, and you can't do it alone. It takes a village, and that would be so beautiful. I don't know if it would work with the ideals as much. It's just thematically I love it, and it goes right off that. What do we all think of that? Is that something that I don't know if it works?
I think that's
I
super
like it.
online.
Trevor, what you said as your background to what you think it was going to be actually made me think of one right now.
Say it.
Which was based off of leadership. I think it's going to be something along the lines of, I understand that by protecting others, or I accept that by protecting others, by protecting some, I will harm others. Because that's the whole thing with leadership is, and if that's what the Windrunners are going to, if you spend resources somewhere, you're not spending them or even taking away from them somewhere else. And I think Kaladin might have to, like, if he does grow into that leadership role, into a commander role, by sending my Windrunners there to protect that village, I'm sacrificing my Windrunners, essentially.
Yeah.
And so he's going to have to accept that. But I think
it's a little similar to the fourth ideal.
I'm still not happy with it because of the Skybreaker fifth ideal. Just because of how lofty that seems. I can't think of anything that is like the protection or responsibility equivalent of I will become the law.
But the Skybreakers ideals are all much loftier than Windrunners anyway, in terms of like the Windrunner ideals feel so much more personalized. I mean, that's not true. The Skybreakers ideals are very personalized. But they what's the Skybreakers? I got it right here.
Yeah, what's the second one?
I will put the law before all else. Again, it's not as internal, right? And then his third ideal, Seth's third ideal is
mission, right?
I will follow the will of Dalinar Kholin.
I'll follow the will. They don't have it on this little thing, Stormlight Archive wiki. Come on, get it together. And then I'll cleanse the shin of their false leader, so as long as Dalinar Kholin agrees. They just very different flavor.
That's fair.
From Windrunner. So I don't necessarily know.
Is just going to be another truth, right?
I think the Windrunners ideals kind of follow the journey of mental health in general. And I wrote out this little template. I'm curious for your guys' thoughts. If the first ideal is accepting that you have stuff to work through and to focus on that journey step by step, the second ideal is to be kind of a vow of initiation into your like order thematically. So for the Windrunners, it's protecting people.
Yep.
And then the third one is letting go of hate, and or killing, protecting with honor. Starting to fade that line of fog that clouds our judgment. And then the fourth is about forgiveness of previous self actions and consequences, with the fifth oath not then be about self-preservation and longevity of life and like just overall health in terms of mental, spiritual, physical.
So this ties into one of the other questions, or one of the other prompts that you wanted to discuss about how whether or not you thought like a shard was going to be taken up or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The more I reread of Kaladin, especially in his mental state in the first book, I think I agree with you that it would be, it's Kaladin, so it's not going to be as hopeful. It's going to be a little bit more depressing of a fifth ideal, but I think it would be survival. And I think if there is a shard, or because when we saw shards get taken up, they were renamed. I think that might be renaming honor, as people were thinking unity, because either Dalinar was going to unite the fragments of honor or unite something else. I think it might be survival, because Sanderson just can't be nice to Kaladin.
I think that might be
survive
a
when everyone
Dawn
else
shard.
fails.
I'm curious if survival might be a Dawn shard or unity. I like both of those ideas. There are some people that think Dalinar.
But how does honor get to honor to survival? Doesn't make necessarily a ton of sense to me, because remember, harmony became from ruin and preservation. So the idea was you took two opposing forces to create harmony. Now there are theories that I can't talk about, I don't think, now that I'm saying it out loud, because I think it might be an Era 2 thing. There are ideas that there could have been another shard name. I will not say what it is. That could have been ruin and preservation together.
Kaladin is the bit of honor that survived.
So yeah, I mean, I guess so.
In the hearts of men or something like that.
I just feel. Well, I mean, the question is, do you think Kaladin's going to take up a shard? Period. That was
I don't think
question.
he.
And is Kaladin going to die? Right. Those are the.
I'm on the side personally, so we're actually a little split here.
Oh, very split. Very
I think
split.
Kaladin is going to die.
You do?
Yeah.
I think he's going to live.
I think Kaladin can't die. I think if
me
Kaladin dies, the depression storyline becomes real weird unless he does it right.
Kaladin,
well, that's my thought. I think
doesn't.
I just think about
die.
to how much of him willing to put everything on the line, and his death not being a suicide, but like him dying in a noble sacrifice. I think would. I don't know.
I think it
would
diminishes
be be tragic, but
it would be tragic.
Kaladin's going to be the only one left after a lot of other people die that are close to him. That's
there are others that I'm
loss.
more convinced about, like Adolin. He's dead.
He's dead.
Whoa,
100% dead.
You think so?
I don't think so.
Not a doubt.
How dare you?
Oh, Adolin
Not
dying,
a doubt.
it's gonna hurt so bad. Just to break it to you all, he dies, and it's on page.
We're calling it.
Yeah, we're calling it.
No. I actually,
you're wrong.
I love that he dies. I think he will be revived.
In here. I'm gonna write down all of these predictions, and then I'm gonna call you guys up after, and we're gonna see.
Yeah. I think Adolin dying makes a lot of sense.
50-50. I think Kaladin may die.
Now it's 50-50, huh?
No, I'm taking fine. I'll double down. He's definitely dead.
That's right.
Do you think he's dead forever, or do you think he comes back? Now, reminder: there is a certain return on Roshar that can still give up their breath to save someone.
Yeah.
Is this possible for Adolin?
I don't like that works.
With Adolin?
And think about it, to make it even worse.
To make it even worse,
sorry, Spencer. To make it even worse, if breaths are linked to memories and maybe traits, would they get Vasher's Zahel's fighting abilities?
Sanderson won't repeat the same climatic arc. That was the climatic arc of Warbreaker. Since we're doing Warbreaker spoilers, was someone giving up a breath to save someone else. I have a hard time feeling like he'd repeat something thematically with important character, or just a plot point with important characters.
That's fair.
I agree with
I
that.
think it works better narratively if Adolin is somehow willingly or unwillingly turned against those he loves in some
I don't
way.
know.
You guys
Or
are like
against
all this
No.
stuff with Adolin, and we're not even talking about Maya. Like, who cares about anything to do with Adolin if it doesn't have anything to do with Maya? You know?
I think he revives Maya.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
There is something that is not, but not. Then that makes something that is not radiant, but something different. Because Sanderson
can't
really
be
likes to
radiant.
play with resonances and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Adolin will become a Radiant because too much time has passed. He would be starting kind of at the ground zero.
Yeah.
I think he will revive Maya. It'll be awesome. It'll be just emotional.
Have you guys heard
But
the
yeah, I don't
theory that
think it's
Adolin becomes the sword and Maya becomes the Radiant?
Yes.
No,
Whoa,
what?
I
Whoa.
do.
Oh, that fits into my
Whoa.
just 100% confirmation that Adolin's dead.
He's going
And
away.
so, yes.
Yeah.
I
he
want to
is
see him
dying.
bomb the Night Watcher. I want our happy colon family of bondsmiths. Come on.
No. 100% Shallan is
The
going world
reason we're
hopping. She's going off with the ghost. She's doing
for Shallan
ghost
to world
things.
hop, Adolin must be dead. It
Yes.
has to happen. She's going to be our new world hopper, cosmere intro person. Like, bringing us to others. It's got to happen.
Yeah.
Adolin
I
goes
can see that.
world hopping with her because his connection to Maya might not be based solely. He doesn't need to use Stormlight
This is a guy in
to
code.
use
He just
abilities.
thinks-
So he and Maya can go off world and like they're just relying on each other. They're not relying on Stormlight.
Okay.
Like if any main character besides Shallan
Yeah.
was going to be able to go off world, I think it would be him because he's not someone who would suddenly be like, I can't use magic. I don't know what to do. I am a normal person now. What's happening?
Do you like the theory Bookborn mentioned where it's flipped, where Maya's the?
I don't know how he would
How does that work?
become like an actual sword, but I like the flipped relationship idea.
Yeah,
Well, think about
I
how
think it's more of a
Ishar
meme theory
turning Spren into
personally,
people.
but
Okay. That sounds
I
like
support
one.
the idea of
I
it,
don't-
the energy
That's
of
a
it. I
Grempo
support.
thing.
The energy.
It
Yeah.
honestly, it does. I really like that because thinking of all the main characters on what would be the gut punch that Sanderson could kill and still it wouldn't destroy too many future plot lines or anything else. I think Adolin's on the chopping block there.
I'm still not okay with the fact that Rock is. I'm implied to be dead. I'm not okay with that.
He's implied.
I
What?
don't think.
No,
I think
no.
it's implied that
No.
isn't it implied that he went back to the Horneater Peaks and submitted himself to like I broke these rules and the punishment for that is death.
Yeah, he'll be
I don't think he's-
tried.
I'm assuming
but
he
it's
went
pointers.
I'm assuming the punishment for that is like death by walking into one of the pools or something, and he becomes a world hopper.
No, they'll probably make him eat some
But-
bad stew or something.
The thing about Adolin, here's my I'm not saying Adolin won't die, but here's my contrary opinion on why there's a chance he won't. Which is that if you guys heard Sanderson talk, he specifically put like that Shallan and Adolin scene in a Rhythm of War because he felt like things were getting too dark. And he felt like he needed something that was a little light. This was when they're in Shadesmar, I believe, and they're like together and they see something. Is this ringing a bell? Okay.
Is it when they see like the like dragon constellation thing
Going through the sky,
Okay.
and he felt like he needed
Yeah.
a moment. And I do worry. Shallan like has already gone through a lot. Like every book is another
Yeah.
bomb dropped on Shallan. I feel like putting Shallan through that again might be a lot for her story. So Adolin's relationship to Shallan may keep him alive. Like,
and Kaladin.
That's a good
Kaladin might
point.
not be able to deal with Adolin dying either.
That's
But
Spencer. I like
again,
that. And
that's
Bookborn, I like that,
more-
but
That's more fuel of like, yeah, that's going to
He's gonna
hurt
die.
both of our characters that need to overcome
but
a
they've
great
already
tragedy.
been
I do
hurt
agree
a
that-
lot. Like, can Shallan?
Shallan's been through too much.
Yeah, Shallan is. We're trying to heal Shallan. So I guess the argument could be like, I can see the argument being, well, then this is going to happen, and she realizes she doesn't have to like fall apart and get a new Spren every time something happens. Like, sure, like okay, that could be. Like, I'm not saying he's safe. I'm
Shallan
just
actually
saying
has 4 more friends.
I do think he has a little protection, perhaps, because he's also our non-radiant character. So
Yeah.
like getting rid of him, what does that also do story wise? But this is all logical. This isn't from the heart. This is all just like trying to think of
Trying to
the
cope here.
story
Yes.
so
Well,
far.
as you mentioned it, there's a chance that he's maybe alive, but
Oh, you're going
let's
back.
say
I wrote down your
100%.
theory all over. You said 100%.
Flashback.
that fits into my just 100% confirmation that Adolin's dead.
End of flashback.
No. I'm saying what you said. You said there's maybe a chance he lives, which, conversely means there's a real hard likelihood.
I think he lives.
Well, hey,
I think he
Kaladin
lives.
definitely lives. Adolin, if there's a character to die, who do we think a character we love, not bad guys, but if there's a character we love, who do you all think will die?
That's a good question.
If
Dalinar
there's going to
is
be,
possible.
do we think there's going to
in some way, like he doesn't, maybe not dead, but like him becoming honor or him like getting
passing to another,
him getting a shard and all that. Like that's seems.
Do we agree with that?
plausible.
I think
I'm now
Dalinar could
having
die and become a
very dark
fused
thoughts
servant for Odium.
of Sanderson killing Lift
Oh,
and just making everybody hate him.
I'd be fine. So I think the
Kill the child.
I don't want to kill child, but okay. Anyway.
Kill the adolescent.
What's this is actually, you just brought up something, Spencer, that I think is really interesting, which is like, we know Stormlight 5 is the end of the first half, and we know there's about a 10-year jump between books 5 and 6. So this means to me that they could lose or win. Like I don't actually think there's I think there's a 50-50 chance, because like you just said, Trevor, Dalinar being Odium's what is the word they use? Servant.
Yeah.
Really interesting thing could happen in 10 years if Dalinar has to serve Odium. And if that goes the case, I think there has to be some wins. My guess, if we lose the contest, we win some other way, because I don't think Sanderson's going to end book 5 on a downer, but I don't think necessarily it means they're going to win the contest.
I think Adolin slowly mending Maya sets a precedent for how to mend a shard. And I think someone dying and becoming the new honor or something is very likely for a character death. I think it would either be Kaladin or Zeth, personally. I want to see Kaladin become honor and Syl become the Storm Mother. That's my personal theory.
Actually, just quick vote. Who wants Kaladin to take up honor?
50-50.
I'm very undecided on it.
I would think maybe is this, again, I'm very iffy on my Stormlight knowledge, but would this be a similar thing to where if he took Talon's place, being the guy that gets tortured essentially for thousands of years, that would really throw Kaladin.
This is a step. He'd be ascending.
You're right. Yeah, he would be honor. It wouldn't just be a herald.
Like Caravangian became Odium, Kaladin would become honor.
What are your thoughts on maybe like Syl? Actually,
he was saying Storm Mother, but
no, but like still taking it up.
Honor.
Yeah, she's the daughter. She's the daughter of honor.
And investiture be a shard?
She becomes no longer a Spren,
right?
But then takes up honor.
Yeah,
he was once of honor, so then honor gets to remain honor.
Yeah,
interesting.
Like maybe
I like that idea. I do still think that I don't like it, but I think that it would be Kaladin, because he's the only one that I think the Stormfather has called Son of Honor, Son of Tanavast.
Yeah. There's a Word of Brandon, a recent one too, that connects the Son of Tanavast to Syl being like the last remnant,
the ancient daughter
of So that's a good theory.
Then maybe it's more.
I don't like it, Bookborn. I'm with you. Like, I see the narrative reasons, and I don't like it.
I'm so glad I don't
like it, because we've seen it. Like, we've seen it happen, and it also changes the character. And like, I love Kaladin so much. I don't know if I want to see him go through the changes that a certain other character in Mistborn Era 1 goes through. And in some ways, like, as much as I love Kaladin, if he just lived a natural lifespan, because he could still be in the back half with only a 10-year gap. I don't know if I want for Kaladin, like, I want him to live, but maybe just live a normal lifespan. Like,
That's what
maybe
we all
that's
want.
the happiest
Yes.
thing Kaladin could do.
Well,
Likewise,
think about a really interesting way to give him a send off without being completely tragic, but a little sad. Of
bittersweet.
Syl no longer bonded to Kaladin and becoming Honor, and now Kaladin's not bonded to a Spren. Maybe he could get another Spren, but he chooses not to.
He lives a very normal
And
life
takes-
afterward.
That's his bowing out. That's his exit stage.
And that would
left.
be so bittersweet, right? To
I
have
love
Kaladin lose
that.
his power.
Loses his
Especially if
power.
it's like right
but-
after the fifth ideal and
I
his
love
use
this.
kind
that
of
new
loses
power.
his
Wow.
he
I love
loses his
this.
connection with Syl, but Syl's still alive.
I
Syl
hate
is
it, but
still
I love it.
Honor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
I
Yeah.
the
and
same-
love it. I
same
see
boat.
the vision.
Yeah.
Have we had it though where the Nihel bond is severed yet though? Because like I forget if it was the Stormfather or Noadon maybe, but like the Stormfather said like the Null bond is more intimate than a bond of marriage. So I don't know if Cal would be okay, even if Syl or if Syl would be okay, even if
Well,
she was alive.
Shallan kind of did it, and she's fine, right?
I don't
Well,
think
is
hers was
Shallan fine?
severed,
I guess
though.
that's our
Fine.
definition of
And Shallan is
fine.
fine.
She's alive.
Shallan is not okay.
You know what's so horrifying?
Breathing.
Call? When everyone starts talking at once, you know you fucked up. It's just, sorry for cursing out here. It's so threatening. Like there was a point where I was talking, everyone comes in, I'm like, okay. It's so much more threatening. Sorry, Trevor. I
you're
support
fine.
you.
Okay, man.
But yes,
but no,
that-
Shallan did do that, and she's living and breathing. Okay, she may not be fine,
Yes.
but
No, I think
She's-
I think actually, Spencer, that's a great question. I don't think we know enough because we know that I can't say the word, so I'm not going to, so people don't make fun of me. But we know something special happened to create Dead Eyes, the recreants or whatever.
The Recreants.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I got it right. Nailed it.
Yeah.
We know that wouldn't happen again. So I don't know if it was both willing. Is that the same thing? Now there
Right.
is a secret project that gives us a little bit of info
Yeah.
about something like
man.
this. I expect we might see something of that nature in book 5, even if it's not with Syl and Kaladin, but with this
There
other
is-
character.
there is stuff set up for book 5 that I can't speak on. But the Recreants itself would not have caused that the Dead Eyes without them trapping Beato Mishram.
Yeah. Like it was all of the elements together that
Yeah.
created
Yeah.
that.
Right. So
I don't know if we know what a regular mutual break of a bond would be.
Right. Do you
I don't
think
know,
we'll
have we
see
ever
that
seen
in
it?
book 5?
What?
Do you,
Say
think,
again?
do you think they'll like resolve this and we'll see that in book 5
maybe.
or maybe down the line?
There's
I
got to be
think-
some.
I think it's going to be
world-building.
more of a hopeful future of like, because I think the best case is Adolin does cure Maya, and then that carries on later, and
Right.
the actual solution comes in time.
But we should see an answer. They're kind of like with Oathbringer. I love that we finally got an answer that's been built up for a lot. And Oathbringer was, what happened to Knights Radiance? Why did they set down their swords? And we got that
Mhm.
big reveal. And the biggest reveal, in at least the first 5 books here, is the Heralds and Honor Odium. There's still stuff missing. I think we need an answer. Not the full picture, but we need one of those steps just to leave book 5 going, oh, okay. I mean, the very first, was it the prologue or prelude to the Stormlight Archive? It was the Heralds and forming the bond. And so if it's a connection to either how the Heralds are bringing the Sprens or how to sever a connection, I don't think we have all the answers, but do we all think that at least there's going to be some huge reveal, leaving a question for the latter 5 books? But what will
Absolutely.
that big reveal be? Will it be Herald connected? Will it be to Honor Odium? Like what level of reveal are we getting for book 5? Like this is the end of the first half. And to us, we're not going to see book 6 for what? Another 10 years, maybe.
Yeah.
What
I
about
think-
that?
I think
don't
it could
that
be
long.
something
bigger than we've
along the
seen
lines
before.
of
You
like
say-
reverse oath pact.
Reverse oath pact. Okay.
Or like something where the fused are no longer able to come back once they're killed,
Got it.
because we've set that up
Yeah.
with the anti-investiture.
Yeah.
And it just sets it up for the next part of the Stormlight Archive being much more of an even
being like
playing
maybe you
field.
could win
Right.
this instead
Yeah.
of eternal battle sort of thing.
All right. What reveal do we think's coming, if any? Because we're all
I think
surmising that
multiple bombs are going to be dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you what.
Something with cultivation.
Yes,
she's
I
just-
hope so.
Yeah.
She's just
I don't know if
like,
you guys have heard, but Sanderson's
hiding
like
in the
the ending for
background.
this book. Sanderson thought of like years and years ago, and he
Yes.
tried it as a Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, I did
campaign,
hear this.
and
Yes.
then
I
it didn't
hadn't-
pan
I
out,
hadn't
so he
heard of that.
saved it for the book. Yeah,
Yep.
Why didn't it pan out? Did he give any more info on that?
I
Like,
can't
what?
remember.
I
I'm
remember
sure
this.
Asked him, and there's an answer out there. This guy
It
Googled
was it was on Dan. Was with Dan. Was probably on their podcast at some episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one. I couldn't even find it. I tried to go back to it and prep to go.
Mhm.
Oh, what was that conversation they had? He said he had a D&D campaign 20 something years ago where he had this epic, massive thing with these moving parts, and
Mhm.
it was too big for D&D. So he
Yeah.
stored that idea and went, "Oh, I'm going to use this in a
Oh,
book
yeah.
series."
And he
What-
said
what
it's the
Sanderson
best
didn't
ending he's
realize
ever
is
come up
that-
with.
If no one in his group was taking notes,
Yes.
falls flat. Because I was a DM once, and I realized afterwards that I was the player who always took copious notes. So the reason all the other things worked out is because I could go back and be like, I took a note on that. And then I was the DM and no one was taking notes. And then everything went horribly when I tried to do a big reveal. So that was probably Sanderson's issue, is my guess.
That could be it. Yeah, Trevor, I'm with you on that. I heard the same thing.
Yeah.
So we're
Interesting.
gonna see. So
I
that
think
means-
it'll be spiritual realm related. That's my theory, because I think that's
fair.
going to be the big thing for the next half.
I think the spiritual realm's not as interesting as we want it to be, because I think it's kind of been said that the spiritual realm is literally just where investiture exists.
Well, it's not a place,
No,
right? It's
that's-
the only
that's
one that's not
content.
a physical
Yeah.
place.
It's
it's just-
it's souls and like the place of shards and like gods.
Yeah,
right, it's
that's what it looks
Roshar,
like.
it's the Cosmere, Shadesmere, and then spiritual.
Right.
Mhm.
In no particular order. Just
Right.
those are the-
Physical realm, cognitive realm, spiritual
Yeah.
realm, but physical realm is like Roshar, cognitive is Shadesmar, and then spiritual
Mm-hmm.
supposedly has no physical location
Yeah.
for people to be.
Got it.
And
Which is
have
weird
we-
because Dalnar brings them both together. So I don't know why that was important. Like, why was the spiritual?
I
realm
think that
important
was
for that?
more so that was making the column essentially. Like he was bringing this spiritual realm and cognitive realm so that you could see the spirits, or the spren, and everything all around there, and you could maybe manipulate them. I don't know if he was doing that consciously, but that's a big thing with Yasna, where she's able to just see the spren reacting and everything. But the spiritual realm was essentially him going, I'm pulling the power into the physical realm and making it manifest as that.
Well, investiture lives in the cognitive realm. Like that's where Spren live and like magic resides. So I don't know if the spiritual
But
realm is magic.
But the investiture still doesn't entirely, like, that's where sentient investiture lives, I think, because you still have the is it just thunder or lightning, or kind of like when a high storm goes by in the physical realm. In Shadesmar you just see kind of like colored clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Because my understanding was that for any of the magic systems, the way of the point of access is not I've stored up power, unless like you're drawing in stormlight from something else, but the stormlight itself, the high storm, this is the spiritual realm breaking into the physical realm. And that's the same thing for any sort of gem. It's like that's a gateway to the spiritual realm, even though realm is not necessarily a proper term as we use it with the other ones.
So the spiritual realm would hold people like the remnant of honor would be there, or maybe even odium, or would
I
be
think so.
in the spiritual realm. So maybe we will kind of go there, but it's when like Dalinar somehow
Maybe?
confronts odium in the spiritual realm.
Yeah, I have no clue. Don't look at me, everybody. Like I feel Rich just looked straight up.
I will say, Austin, you're missing some cosmere.
I
heavy stuff.
am. Yeah, I gotta.
Yeah.
I'm reading Mistborn book 1 right now. like as we speak. I'm
Okay,
on like
cool.
page 100, so I'm catching up.
We'll circle back to that conversation after you finish Mistborn Era 1 and Mistborn Secret History novella.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. Wait.
Oh, also, just I want to make this a PSA for people who may be watching. It's like I skipped Dawn Shard, or what is the book?
Dawn Shard?
Yeah,
it is Dawn Shard. I skipped the book. I forgot to read it, whatever. And then I read Sunlit Man. You got to read Dawn Shard first. I think that's a mandatory
Essential.
read.
Yep.
I was a little lost and I was missing things. I think that should be almost printed on the book. Read Dawn Shard first before Sunlit Man.
Interesting tangent. I think Sanderson, I understand why he wants like to market these new books, like especially Tress and Yumi as introductory.
Oh, I'm ready to disagree with you, Trevor. Keep going though.
But I think he's doing it more of like a business mindset rather than a legitimate place to start. Because I could see it going either way. Like you see like all these references are like, oh, that makes me hungry to learn more. Or it's like, no, that's too much. I don't want it. So
I think the Sunlit Man works perfectly as a standalone. You don't have to read any cosmere to read it. How do I know this? My dad did that. And he was like, oh, it's fine. I mean, he had read Tress and he had read Mistborn, but he hasn't read any Stormlight or anything like that.
Have you guys read Kings of the Wild by chance?
What?
Yeah,
hard segue.
That's the
No,
like,
kind of-
rock one.
It's like
kind
an
of.
hard segue, just like Kings of the Wild has a bunch of D&D references and rock band references, but it's a story you could still enjoy despite getting 0 references.
Yeah. So
That's
and
what I
that's the thing. And like for me personally, like I know people love Sunlit Man. I actually thought Sunlit Man was like a weaker story, and I felt like if it didn't have cosmere, I wouldn't have enjoyed it a ton. And I think that's how my dad felt about it in general. He's like, oh, it was good.
Right.
It was a little too fast paced for me. I wish there had been more character development. Like he liked Tress and Yumi a lot more.
Yeah.
But I think you really don't need that. I think maybe what happened is that you knew just enough. So you knew enough to know what you didn't know. And then I do think that's a really tough place to be. It's like you either have to be...
I've read all the other Stormlight stuff. I know this character is from Stormlight. I'm like, wait a minute. I missed out on something.
Yes. I think you were in the worst possible position.
Yeah,
it's
that
like
is the worst
you either
position.
have to know it all or know nothing.
Yeah.
100% agree. If I knew nothing, then okay.
So Trevor, you're right. We'll combine Trevor and Bookborn's opinion here. Like somewhere in between. Like you could read it and know nothing completely, but also like if you know all the lore and everything, it seems like you have to know.
You have to know
if you go into it.
I would say all or nothing.
It's like reading Malazan.
Like I got my mother-in-law to read Tress.
We are starting our
Malazan is way more confusing.
We can't wait to get
into
it.
I can't even believe you just compared Sunlit Man. Sunlit Man has a pretty basic story, and you just have like some random stuff. You're like, okay, whatever.
It's Sunlit Man's an extended novella. Like it's pretty simple storyline.
Yeah,
I did so have
surprised me. There's a cameo in Sunlit Man, and I won't spoil who that is. And that cameo, I was asking my dad, like, what did you think of that scene? And he was like, oh, well, I could tell this was the relationship to the main character. And he like nailed it, what the relationship must have been. Never having read Stormlight. And I was like, I think sometimes as cosmere readers, we don't realize like archetypes. Like people can get more than I think sometimes I fall into the trap of thinking it's impossible, but it's really not as hard, I think, as we're so deep. We don't realize that it's okay to like some people aren't this weird.
I had a very weird unhinged experience of that because I had someone who signed up for my review team read book 3
of your book
of my trilogy without reading any of the other books.
Hold on, name the book first. Sell it. You're on air. What's the book? Right there, The Last Night. So go buy it.
They went ahead and read the final book in the trilogy, which I originally wrote as one book, and like it just worked to divide it. And he hadn't read anything, and he was like, "Yeah, this was a really good book. I can tell I'm gonna like the first 2 books." And I was like, "I'm not able to mentally deal with what you did." That's like that. I don't think I could force myself to do that.
Is that a form of torture? I'm pretty sure that is.
That's so good. That's actually how Nicholas Eames. Sorry to bring him up again. We were just talking with him, but the Kings of the Wild author, where he's just a good guy. And so we were talking to him and he read Guy Gavrier Okay's 3rd book in what was the series called? What's Guy Gabriel Kay's famous series? The last, the one where the Canadians go into a portal realm. Anyways,
I got no
same
idea.
thing.
I need to read this now.
I
he
only
read
know
a-
like Tianga. Like I only know
Yeah.
Under Heaven. I don't know any of the series.
But he read the book 3 of that and crying tears, like as if he was with those characters for years
That's
and
a
had
good
read all the
book.
books. But
Yeah.
especially you're saying that someone jumped into your book 3 and
Yeah.
then
And
just
it
was like, oh, this makes
like
total
this.
sense.
This is really great. Yeah, apparently.
That's great.
That's both a compliment and also a little hurtful. It's like, oh, you didn't even, that's a
think
huge
so,
compliment though.
I was like, wait, I don't know how to take this.
Right.
Cool. All right, but to end things today, there's a very popular theory going on right now about Shallan and how she might be the mother of the Herald Chanarach. How do you guys say it?
The daughter,
Daughter.
Daughter. What did I say?
I say
Mother.
You said mother.
Oh,
that Shallan was the mom.
whoops.
Spoiler.
The daughter.
For book 5.
Yeah.
Shallan would be the daughter
I
of
like
the Herald
this. New
Chanarach.
theory just dropped.
I say
Um,
Chanarach.
Yeah, where do we stand on that?
I had to look up the name when you sent over the notes. That was, I think that's one of the many names that when I physically read, there's some names that I don't even try to pronounce, and I recognize it as the image of text on the page.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That is one of them.
Yep.
It's like, oh, what's your favorite character's name? I don't know. I know what it looks like on the page. That's it.
Yep.
I can't
In my
say it.
head.
My wife just makes up names, which infuriates me. Like for Wheel of
name
Time,
Kaladin?
Egwene is Edwin, and Nynaeve is Nineveh, and Lan is Alan.
Hey, I don't blame her for that. Those are hard names, okay?
But do we think this theory has teeth? Or I think it has a bunch of teeth.
Oh, yeah.
But it's
I think it does.
Again, this is just another instance of there's so much evidence like supported in the text that this theory makes so much sense. Could Sanderson use all these points and do something completely different? Absolutely, and we would all love it. But as of right now, like I'm sold. I'll put the link to the write up in the comments for people or in the description. But it's long winded. It's very thorough.
It's one of those theories that I think has so much merit and has so much proof, and I also hate it.
Just can someone, for the sake of listeners and audience, explain it in full? I don't have the confidence to actually explain
So,
this theory.
The theory is that Shallan pretty much started the new round of desolations by
Because
killing
she is
her
the
mother.
daughter. Yeah,
And
she's
her
the
mother
daughter
would
of
have been
Chanarach the Herald.
Chanarach. So
So the
there's
Herald
a
goes
theory
back, and
that-
that Herald breaks, and then it starts
there's
the
a theory that
desolation.
Talon didn't break, and we've gotten a word of Brandon. Spoiler alert: Sanderson said that he didn't.
Colin didn't
So
break.
that would mean that at some point a herald was sent back to damnation and broke immediately because they're all kind of weak and crazy, and they just don't want to deal with it anymore. And I can't blame them. But yeah, then the new desolations would have started right after that. So
One
that's
thing I will
like
say
kind
is
of
we
the
know
leading
Talon
point.
didn't break, but we don't necessarily know that it was another Herald that did break. If something happened to change, like this is, if this is the last desolation, maybe something happened, maybe something broke. I'm not saying that's likely. I'm just saying we don't necessarily, one doesn't have to
That's
mean
fair.
the other.
That's fair.
I need to reread this theory now to see if they compared the timeline of the Shallan flashbacks with the timeline of the Venli and Eshonai flashbacks.
It's pretty well cited, I think.
okay.
Like it goes with the timeline pretty well.
It has a lot of
Yeah.
If you read through the write up, it has a lot of evidence.
It's
it
hard.
It lines up also with the death of Gavilar as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
It all sets up of all about the same time. So,
And we're touching on like 10% of the theory. There's more to this.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not
has-
just, hey, this herald has red hair.
No, it's not. Right. Which
Definitely the mom.
right. It goes so deep. That's one of those theories that's hard to argue with, just because I'm like, well, that makes total sense to me. But I would also not be upset if that wasn't the answer. I could see it going a different direction and just going like, oh, because you can also make a theory look really good, especially with this much time and all the lore going on out there.
Mhm.
It's just this one has so much that I do think it's going to happen.
It
I
also
think
just thematically makes most sense for
it does.
Shallan to actually reveal another truth for her
Yes.
ideal of like
Yeah, that could be
Totally.
her, because that would be her fifth ideal, right?
Yeah.
Or her fifth,
what's
truth.
bigger? What's a more devastating thing to admit than
Yeah.
I caused the desolation?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't get worse.
Reason.
The theory, I found it on the 17 Shards website.
Yeah.
It's by Technopathetic. The write-up is great, and it ends with there's two main options. Option one is Shallan knows that she killed a Herald and that she sent her mother to damnation, possibly ending the world and starting the final desolation. Or option two, Shallan does not know her mother was a Herald, but will put that together in regards to the hole in her memory. And like you guys are saying, that'll be the final truth.
Yep. That seems like the two answers.
Yeah, I think it's a great theory. I still think it's possible Sanderson could go a complete opposite direction and it wouldn't be like loose threads. I'm totally in agreement there. But it's definitely an interesting one that if you haven't read, you should, people out there, just because I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest must-read theory. Like all these theories that are out there, the Gavel Lord.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's the
Gavinor.
Yeah,
Gavinor.
him being that is a lot of just thematic, like, that would be interesting, and also kind of.
No, there's death rattles. The death
Okay,
rattles are what
yeah,
convinced
there
me
you
on that
go.
one.
You got death rattles on that. All right,
That's
all
the
right.
big thing is Gavinor's like several times has been.
I'm just saying it's got some
Yeah,
teeth. Just like Evelyn, not all the teeth are in because he's a kid. So it's got some teeth to the theory, not all the teeth to the theory.
Mhm.
Trevor, Trevor, we've all just boxed you out. You've asked the questions and then we've kind of just bullied you.
No, I fully believe in this theory.
Fully, yeah.
And again, if he does something else, I know that Sanderson's going to use previously established points for whatever he does. So I'm not worried about it if it doesn't come true. But this is why I love theory crafting for the Cosmere and Stormlights, because again, unlike Marvel right now, Sanderson, is consistent, and we can have these theories, and even if they don't pan out, it's just because we know there's going to be a better thing happening in the end.
You came in here with
he's going to do all of the other books that he's promised, or most of them.
Yeah, I'm just glad there's plans in place. Something, God forbid, were to happen to him, that the Cosmere will be finished. So,
how nice is that of having that much confidence in an author's like, the author has all these plans, and I have 100% confidence it will come to us in a very orderly, timely manner. There's always going to be some good new Sanderson book every year, at least.
And he said, if
anything
does unfortunately happen, it's McClellan.
There's
McClellan, really?
There's a few people, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I could totally see that. I thought not Dan
100%.
Wells, but McClellan
Jane
more fits
Wells,
his writing
Isaac
style.
Stewart, and McClellan are like all
Got it.
working on
The
Cosmere
people-
projects now, I think.
Got it.
Well, no,
Makes
I
sense.
think Brian's still working just on his current series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which if
Okay.
you haven't read Glass Immortals, fantastic.
Good book. Yeah.
haven't read that
Yeah,
one.
we
Final
have. It's
question for you
Shadow
guys.
Oh, that one. I was
Yeah.
thinking different.
I got to
book.
Alpha.
Thank you.
Re-reviewed it.
book 2 of it, and I'm like, Brian, write the next book because I need to read book 3 before book 2 even comes out.
Yeah. Demir Grappo. He's a fun time.
Oh yeah.
Final question for you guys, just to leave you something to chew on. Do you think we will get a Hoid truth?
Ooh.
Ooh,
Mm.
you should have started with that question.
I don't think we'll get it.
No,
in
we
this
should
book.
only say no or yes. There can be no in between. You just have to say no or yes.
Yeah, just no or yes.
Okay, start us off, Bookborn.
No.
No.
Yes.
Oh, spicy.
No.
Okay.
Trevor?
I'm gonna say no. For Wind and
You're
Truth.
alone.
For Wind and Truth.
I think one of the bigger, so Wit for most of the series is kind of outside of it, of kind of infallible. He's always this mysterious character and always more in the know than the reader. At the end of Rhythm of War is a great example of
I
the
hated
reader
that.
is now in.
I was
on
not
the,
okay.
Huh?
I was not okay with that.
but it's the first time I think that the reader is more in the know than Wit, and it starts breaking down his character as an actual character rather than just this mystery that's dancing around the cosmere. So I think we're going to get a bit more of that exact thing.
I think if he does it, he's going to be really annoying and make that the epilogue. And in the way that I think Oathbringer ended with Life Before Death Radiant, it's going to be, here's my truth. And then that's the last line of the entire book.
Totally
and it's going to be some stupidly juicy secret.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Spencer.
Theorizing for the next 10 years.
I want to see him say something like I killed God to save a girl, and then just like cut to black. Like what?
That seems like a weird thing to do.
That does, yeah. Man.
Cool.
Trevor?
Well, awesome. I think that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank my co-host, obviously, for joining today and adding to this wonderful discussion. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Thank you for having us.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, and I think I speak for all of us when I say that we want to see your best and spiciest theories down in the comments below. Let us know what are you most excited for and maybe scared to see happen in Wind and Truth. Yeah. And just as a PSA to everyone, I know that myself, Bookborn, and 2ToRamble, you guys are all going to be at Dragonsteel Nexus this year. Is that right?
Hell yeah, we will.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. And then Mr. Spencer Russell Smith has his first audiobook coming out July 1st, which is probably either tomorrow or today, depending on when this video comes out. But yeah, go ahead and check those out. They are some pretty fantastic books. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in and sticking around. We will see you all next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.